All right, I have a question for you, digging a little deeper now into the nature of law, how it's made, what it is, okay? Here's my question. This is a very interesting question, although some people think, it's just too obvious once I give you the answer, but it's actually very insightful, okay? And it's not my idea. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's just when I learned this, I thought, whoa, this is interesting. Okay, so here's the question. What is the law made of? Okay, you've understood a little bit about legal theory. You've understood at this point, if you've watched, I hope you watched that first, natural law, positive law, legal realism. You understand law is the ethics of yesterday. Ethics is the law of tomorrow. You understand kind of how law and society evolve. But now I want to teach you something that pretty much only lawyers know. Okay, this is pretty cool. What is the law made of? Think about that. Okay. So, I ask students a lot of time, for many, many years, I ask this question, what is the law made of? And students say, it's made of history, it's made of precedents, it's made of moral ideals or rules, or it's made of punishments or, standards. Yeah, it is. It is made of all that. But what's the law made of? Right? And they'll say, well, it's made of case law and it's made of legislative rationale and different debates. And yeah, that's true. But what's the law made of? Okay, you ready? Here's the answer. And some students say, professor, listen, what's the law made of? The law is made of words. The law is made of words. Right? And you might be thinking, it's stupid, but it's actually not. I'm going to give you a case example to make it really pop for you. But think about it this way, okay, this wall is made of glass bricks, right? And this table here is made of marble. This is made of wood, okay? Camera's made of plastic and glass and whatever else is in there, okay? The law is made of words. Why does it matter? It's because lawyers know that words have to be defined. And it is in the battle for the definition of the word that a case can be won or lost, and it can be significant. Here's a great case in point. Excuse me. Incredible case. Ready? It's going to illustrate that a single word was worth $1 billion. It's actually more. Here's the case. So you remember September 11th, 2001. What happened? Remember? Everybody remembers, right? It was a terrorist attack in New York City. Planes crashed into the World Trade Center. I actually saw it. I remember watching. I saw it live. The second plane hit the building, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? It just changed everything. Well, what happened that day was horrible, and it was a tragedy, and a lot of people died, but at some point we had to kind of deal with it, clean it up, and we had to get the insurance claim to figure out what's going to happen with the building, right? Well, as it turns out, the insurance contract had a statement or a clause in there that said, for every occurrence causing destruction to the towers, you get $1 billion. And I'm being a little liberal with my wording because I think it was a little bit more than that. I think it was like 3.5 billion or something, but let's just, for ease of understanding, okay? For every occurrence causing destruction to the towers, $1 billion. So the insurance company and the builder, had a battle over, well, how much money do we get? Because the builder, or, the owner of the building, said, well, we need to collect the $2 billion, which you can see why, right? Because how many planes hit the buildings? 2 planes. How many buildings fell down? 2 buildings. Okay, well, for every occurrence causing destruction of the building, $1 billion. Well, what word has to be defined? What word, right? It's the word occurrence. Occurrence, okay? So for every occurrence causing damage to the building, well, 2 planes, 2 occurrences. And that's what the owner of the building wants to argue. 2 planes, 2 occurrences, $2 billion. Yeah, but the insurance company wants to say, no, 1 occurrence, 1 terrorist attack, 1 billion. Okay? It's not 2 planes, it's 1 attack. Do you see what I'm saying? That's how important it is that the law is made of words. That one word, occurrence, was worth over $1 billion. It's crazy to think about that. But this is exactly what happens over and over and over. I don't want to go into it right now, but, this fraud case out of New York City with a former president, I have no dog in the fight one way or the other. But, what's the definition of the word fraud? And how do we break down whether fraud occurred or not? And so maybe another time I'll get into that. But here's what I want you to understand. In the law, everything that happens has to be proven, right? So what's it proven? What's being proved? Well, it's the statute or the case law. The rule itself is made of words which are constituted by different elements, okay? Excuse me. The rule is made of elements which are constituted by different words. So for example, murder. Murder is the unjustified killing of another human being. The unjustified killing of another human being, okay? So if there's a suicide, is it murder? No, because it's not another human being. It's the individual themselves, okay? Well, what if somebody tries to shoot you and you shoot them back? Is that murder? No, because it's the justified killing of another human being in self-defense, not unjustified, right? And then there's a whole debate about whether, okay, is abortion murder or not? Well, look at it. The unjustified killing of another human being. And that's why it's so important whether or not the fetus is a human being or not. And there's a big debate. You could also talk about whether it's justified or not, okay? So what I'm saying is that the law is made of rules which are constituted by the words that have to be defined. And what you're going to see if you study this subject is that the words get defined by the social norms, the ethics, or the economic interests that want to push the law one way or the other. And that's now the battle. I think at this point you've seen the evolving ethos model, right? Law, ethics, economics, science, okay? So the law itself is made of words, and those words get defined by what ethics is saying, by what economics is saying, and by what science is saying. That's how it gets defined. And I'll land it with this. At this point in watching the video, I believe you've now read The Law is the Ethics of Yesterday, Ethics is the Law of Tomorrow paper. And in that paper was a case called Brown versus Board of Education. Do you remember? It was about segregation in schools. And it was in 1954. They finally said, no, we can't do this anymore. Segregating kids because they're this color or that color is wrong. It violates equal protection. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. What words matter in that 14th Amendment? Equal protection, okay? And so the theory before that 54 case was that separate but equal was equal protection. They go to different schools, they get separate education, but it's equal education. But it turned out that that's not true. So ethically, we were like, well, it's kind of not right to segregate these kids. It's it's not right. It's immoral. We shouldn't do it. And then what happened was science came in and said, well, wait a second. What science? Social psychology. They put together tests and they found out that these kids really did feel like they weren't getting the same education. And so they could now prove scientifically that there was harm being done and that it's obvious that this is immoral and unethical and therefore not equal and therefore illegal. So the 14th Amendment, that all of us are entitled to equal protection under law, those words didn't change at all. From, I forget what year the 14th Amendment is, but from the inception of the 14th Amendment to 1954, the 14th Amendment language didn't change. Well, what changed was the definition. Why did the definition of equal protection change? Because science and ethics evolved that word. It evolved our understanding of what equal meant in real life. And that's how the law evolves. The words themselves don't have to change. The definitions change over time because of how society evolves. And so that's a big reason why ethics is the law of tomorrow. And of course, economics pushes it in science. So it's the evolving ethos. The ethos of today, our belief system, as that evolves, eventually redefines legal words. Okay? That's why it matters that law is made of words, because the words evolve. And the whole battlefront in law often is about the word itself.